Hello everyone. Persona and food. Who doesn't love food? And Persona games were really the first games where I felt that the most basic everyday activity we as humans have, which is really eating to sustain us, was integrated, was blended into the whole storyline, the gameplay. It was pervasive, and just like food in our lives, it is ever present in Persona games and incredibly important for the well-being of the characters. So I'm delighted to be able to talk today about one of my all-time favourite topics, food and cooking. Insight Editions very kindly sent me this official Persona cookbook, and something strange happened when I started reading it and looking at the photos of the food. It rekindled my love of and interest in cooking. I've done a lot of cooking over my lifetime. I've explored many different types of cuisine, and this was like a jolt, honestly, because I haven't actually done any Japanese cooking before, not really. I love reading about the different Japanese dishes, and I have all kinds of books these days about Japanese culture, like this one, for example, which explain all the various facets, including food and cooking, but there is no substitute for doing the real thing yourself. So I took my time, with the help of Poodle Pa, of course, veggie chopper number one in the kitchen. He is actually a very good cook in his own right. And we explored a few of the recipes, getting all the ingredients. It's actually not difficult. I think most of the ingredients will be easily available to most people almost anywhere in the world. If I can find them in provincial New Zealand, it should be possible for most people. So, what does the book cover? I'm going to show you a lot of pictures and talk about the recipes because they are intriguing, and it's such a well-chosen variety. I've fallen in love with this book as I read it, used recipes, went back to it. So here we have the official cookbook compiled by Jared Melendez, and you can see straight away that the signature photo they have used is a curry. Not just any old curry. If you know your Persona, you will know which curry it is. Yes, and I will talk about that curry. That will be the third recipe. I will go into details. Amazing. The contents. All three games are covered equally. This is such a trip down memory lane for anyone who's played 1, 2, or all of the games. The book starts out very sensibly with the preparation of the main stock that is used in so much of Japanese cooking, dashi. A straightforward explanation of how to make your own dashi. It's so easy. You just need a big pot of boiling water, a strip of kombu seaweed, and then a heap of those dried fish flakes. If I buy them here, they're called bonito flakes. They're probably not exactly like those in Japan, but close enough, I think. And then you've got stock to see you through the week, really, and it is just so versatile and so delicious. I'm determined that this is going to be a staple in our household from now on. So we'll start with persona 3. And you can already see from the pictures, etc., everything is laid out and presented in a really appealing way. The paper is nice quality. I would describe the finish as either semi-matte or semi-gloss. It just brings out the colours and the sheen on the food really nicely without overdoing it. So the first recipe I looked at was Yukari's chicken sauté. And I thought straight away, that's my kind of food, because I eat a lot of chicken. It's just got that mixture of chicken and veggies with rice, which is my probably favourite combo meal. And it looked straightforward to do and pretty close to what we usually eat. The difference, I think, is not so much in the ingredients or the cooking style, but in the sauce. The sauce in the end determines that special flavour. That was quite new to me and I really enjoyed it. They always have a little introduction for each dish with the character speaking, in this case Yukari. But I gotta say, it's nice seeing the look on someone's face when they're eating something they really like. It's not just about proving myself, it's that I really wanted to see that smile again. And that's, of course, one of the pleasures of cooking, not just for yourself, but for other people. The book is very keen on promoting what they call delicious meals packed with nutrients. Very good approach, I think. This recipe uses plenty of vegetables and chicken thighs, which are easy to cook up tender and juicy. Absolutely right. This dish will come out so good you and your friends won't be able to help but say, yum. And that's exactly what I said when I ate it. Yukari, you're right. Each recipe is tagged with the cooking time. It says 25 minutes of cooking and an hour marinating the chicken in a sauce. The difficulty is tagged as easy, which it is, I'd have to say. If you know a few basic cooking techniques, like how to stir-fry a bit of meat or veggies round a wok or skillet pan or something, I think you'll be all right. They also have recipes tagged intermediate, which are just slightly more complex, and just a few that are labelled hard. I would say none of them are beyond the cooking expertise of your average householder. And most of them are really straightforward. The explanations are super clear. All the recipes have been put together with great care and really well. I've studied them carefully. I know how to read recipes and interpret them, and I really couldn't fault them. So I just want to mention that most people have some preferences or even special dietary needs, which mean they look at a recipe and they say, oh, it's got that ingredient, I can't cook that, what a shame. I always say, ideally you cook a recipe exactly as it is presented the first time, and then you decide where you can make your own adjustments. Because in the end, cooking and enjoying food, it's about flexibility and what suits you. Now, for me personally, because I got to watch a few things for health reasons, chicken thighs, which are very fatty in New Zealand, were not such a good choice. So I opted for a different cut, which is leaner. Now, I was a bit worried in case the chicken would dry out too much in the cooking and go a bit tough, you know. But in fact, despite the cooking time, because of the technique, it turned out super tender. Poodlepa was impressed as well. He said, no, he said, it hasn't gone dry at all. It's juicy and yum. Another thing I learned from this recipe was the main sauce used for the marinating, and later then you cook the chicken in it as well. I hadn't come across that before. It's pretty straightforward. It uses something that seems to be ever present in Japanese kitchens, and that is mirin. We always have it because Poodle makes sushi. So we always have that. We always have soy sauce. So you take mirin, soy sauce, and sake. There's a bit of sake in there. And before you say, oh, I don't drink alcohol, well, you're not going to drink it. In the cooking, the alcohol evaporates, and it just contributes a depth of flavor that's really intriguing. So that's a really simple sauce to put together. A few tablespoons of mirin, soy sauce and sake, whoops. You marinate your chicken. And you marinate your chicken in sort of one part of your prepared sauce, and the rest you use together with a bit of miso paste to make a real nice sauce to use later for finalizing the dish. And then you simply cook your chicken, your cut up chicken pieces in a wok or what they call a sauté pan. We have one that's sort of quite wide bottomed. Cook them so that they're just golden brown. You set them aside, then quickly use the same pan with a bit more oil to cook your veggies, which are certainly partly seasonal, and you stir fry them a bit until they're just the right consistency that you like. Some people like it more al dente, others more sort of well cooked. Do it your way. And then all you have to do is put the cooked chicken back into that pan, add the sauce, and gently simmer it for a few minutes more. It's actually quite a quick meal, as long as you've got the chicken, marinated an hour beforehand. And of course you will have had your rice cooker on and have your steamed white rice ready, and that's how you end up with one extremely delicious chicken and vegetable meal. The secret is in the sauce. Yes. That recipe is going into our regular rotation. Now, Junpei opted for a baseball bread with chocolate. It's Junpei. But Akihiko went for something really sensible. You know how he's into diet for athletes, etc. Well, this is the super athlete meal, which you will know from the game. And when I look at it, I just think, oh, I want a bowl of that. It just looks so good. I haven't done that yet, but it's on my to-do list. And this is where you need the dashi, which you have prepared, and a bit of chicken stock, and that'll be your soup. And really, it's just veggies go in, a nice selection. Always a bit of ginger goes into most recipes, and also some silken tofu, and also chicken. So a combination of protein, chicken and tofu. And for flavouring, yet again, we have soy sauce or tamari sauce if you like, and some mirin, served with the usual steamed rice. Now this would be a wonderfully nourishing and warming meal. Now Mitsuru has opted for a high sugar treat. This baked caramel treat is often prepared by street vendors in special pans, and home cooks sometimes use ladles. A small donburi pan or extra small stainless steel skillet works very well for this application. Try this confection with tea. It balances the sweetness. It is very, very sweet. I'm not heavily into sugar, honestly, so I think I'll give this a miss. But this is an interesting one because there's no flour in this. It's purely egg white, baking soda, sugar, and a bit of water. So it's be very crumbly and melts in your mouth. If this is your kind of thing and you need your afternoon sugar hit, this might be something. Fuka has gone for a bento, an onigiri bento, a special little rice balls wrapped in all round in seaweed. Koromaru chose a cupcake. Looks cute. Now Aigis opted for a fruit and vegetable smoothie, and it quotes Aigis, even in just these tiny planters, there is so much life. There's no one to teach them, they're just doing the best they can. Aigis. Plants are captivating, the book says. We nurture vegetables and they in turn become fuel and nutrients for us. So this one contains yogurt, coconut water, baby spinach, celery. It's the one food in the whole world I dislike is celery. I'm sorry, I just had to mention that. I'm an omnivore. I will happily eat everything and almost anything. But celery, oh, heaven help me, no, please. Preserve me from celery. Cucumber, frozen strawberry slices, frozen banana slices, and a bit of ginger. Ken has gone for the ever-popular omurice, and that is actually slightly more involved because of the wrapping the rice in the omelette, etc. It is still classified as an easy recipe, though. Cooking time 35 minutes. Now Shinjiro clearly likes his katsudon. And that is made with pork loin chops. You obviously need some flour and eggs for the coating, and some panko. You also need a bit of dashi and some soy sauce, sake and mirin, ever present in these recipes. Better stock up on those, have a good supply. The difficulty is tagged as intermediate, and from reading the recipe I can only think it's because of the techniques required. They don't strike me as very difficult, but you've got to be quite particular to get it right. Now here comes the second recipe I tried. It's the Prodigy Platter. Do you remember the Prodigy Platter? I used to go and absolutely gorge myself on that in the game as much as possible because, as you know, Wakatsu Kitchen's Prodigy Platter gets smarter while you digest this meal rich in omega-3, which helps stimulate the brain. For this recipe, you don't have to do the whole salmon as they do in the game, in the Wakatsu Kitchen. You just use your fillets, really. Now, this is the only place where I have a very tiny criticism. It's just a tiny stumble. It says in the description it requires you to simmer just a fillet. And that's exactly what I did, because we have a lot of very good salmon in New Zealand and we eat it quite regularly. And I always buy the cut fillets, They chop up the fish in fillets. But in the picture of the meal, they show what we, here in New Zealand at least, call a salmon steak. It's cut the other way. We just don't call that a fillet. That would be confusing. In a shop they would ask, do you want the steak or the fillet? However, it's salmon at the end of the day. Now this was, I would say, probably the most intriguing recipe for me because once again, it's tagged easy, and it really is. There isn't much to it, but it's all in the technique, which was new to me. There is a bit of to-do with the salmon being first quickly suspended in boiling hot water, and then you have to plunge it straight into a bowl of ice water. After that, you then lift it out, and then it needs to be cooked in a sauce. And when I read the recipe, I thought, this poor salmon is going to disintegrate. However careful I am lifting it in and out of boiling or ice cold water and into and out of sauce, it's probably going to fall apart. Well, I had the surprise of my life. This weird technique of suspending and boiling hot water and then in the ice bath, it firms up the salmon, it draws out a lot of the excess oil, so it leaves it not fatty. That's the only way I can describe it. And at the same time, it leaves it really compact and tight textured, not tough. It's more a sort of dense, meaty texture. So what else do you need for this recipe apart from the salmon and obviously steamed rice? You also make a miso soup, which is a separate recipe, very straightforward. And you need sake and mirin and soy sauce, yet again. A piece of ginger, a little bit of sugar, and that's it. There isn't much to this recipe, it's all in the technique. And then the, by now, familiar 3-ingredient sauce, which you can see there at the bottom of the bowl, and brings a really nice flavour to the whole thing. I can honestly say I have never eaten salmon like that before. It was a totally new experience. Very nice. So that's your miso soup. That's the umiyushi beef bowl, which you will probably be familiar with. And we have a weird takoyaki. This is tagged as intermediate. There is a fair number of ingredients and obviously a bit of technique involved in preparing the filling and the batter and putting it all together. This is the mystery burger, wild duck. And such a traditional dish, shoyu pork ramen. That's the signature dish of Hagakure ramen, a collagen-rich shoyu pork ramen guaranteed to increase your charm a little bit with every bite. Well, if you've worked your way through Persona 3, you know how important that is. Now, this is an intermediate recipe. Obviously, there is quite a bit of work involved preparing the pork. In this case, the instructions go over 2 pages. Little cakes called taiyaki from Gekukan High School. Some pickled turnip. A fried bread, available at the school shop, of course. A katsu sando, probably easiest to make if you have katsu one day and then have leftover, and then you can make these sandwiches. One of the most popular items at our school shop, Lux Shiruko, a red bean soup, and it is offered by Tanaka's Amazing Commodities. But you can make it yourself, and it is not complicated. The difficulty is easy, the recipe is vegan and gluten-free, and cooking time is 1.5 hours, because the beans obviously take some time cooking. They always do, don't they, beans? The little crowning glory in this soup is the mochi that goes on top. That was Persona 3, on to Persona 4. So this is the steak that Yosuke favours, calling it Junes steak. One of the best cuts of beef is the ribeye, marinated in a delicious sauce, such as this one made of soy sauce, sesame oil and ginger, and you'll have one of the most succulent steaks you've had in your life. Definitely one for steak lovers, and I must say it looks delicious. Nikujaga is a stew in which meat and potatoes play the starring roles, with support from carrots, onions and shirataki noodles. This really does look like a Cheers kind of dish. That's the tempura dinner from the Amagi Inn. The chefs at the Amagi Inn have mastered this tempura dinner, in which shrimp and earthy vegetables are battered and fried to a perfect crisp. Now this is tagged as difficulty hard, and I assume it is because of getting the batter right and the frying. When making tempura, timing is key. These steps keep the shrimp tender and ensure the vegetables have a satisfying crunch. I've never done this. I'm not much into deep fried foods, so I imagine there must be a bit of skill involved, and practice obviously means you will get it right in the end. Kanji makes animal crackers, and this is a very nice looking tofu dish from Ryuji. Now the recipe includes both meat and tofu, the meat being pork, but of course if you're vegetarian you could easily just cut out the meat. You would also need to consider that there's chicken stock there, but I think we have options these days for vegetable-based stock for cooking, so that shouldn't be a problem, because otherwise it's a really nice recipe, mabo tofu. The sauce has a wonderful savoury flavour and powerful spice. The soft silken tofu absorbs the sauce well. Yes, you use chili paste, as well as soy sauce, oyster sauce, red miso paste. So it's the chili paste that will give it that hit. It's tagged as easy and cooking time is only 20 minutes. Teddy likes his parfait, and Naoto likes a crepe as a challenge letter. It looks quite involved to me, tagged as intermediate. Now, Adachi favours a cabbage roll, and the moment I looked at that, I got really nostalgic, because my mum used to do this type of cabbage roll, a German style of course. She would use a mixture of mincemeat and pork and beef. It's quite a traditional one really. It's a nice dish. We used to have it, I remember, it was a Sunday dinner. Intermediate difficulty, 45 minutes cooking time. Marie goes in for steak skewers. And oh, that rainy day special mega beef bowl. Yes. Stop by Chinese diner Aya and take part in the rainy day special mega beef bowl challenge. Just one look at the staggering amount of food will invigorate you and lift your spirits. Be warned, it takes an incredible amount of skill to devour this mountain of beef and rice. You must have courage, diligence, knowledge, and understanding to consume the entire thing. As you eat, you might be convinced that your bowl is actually a portal to the meat dimension. But don't worry, there's no such thing. Or is there? I remember many attempts at trying to tackle that beef bowl. You start out again with dashi, your foundation. There's a bit of sake, soy sauce, mirin in there, yet again, and otherwise it's very thinly sliced ribeye, some onions, grated ginger, one large egg goes on top, of course, and it's served on rice, naturally. It says shichimi togarashi for serving, but I have to declare I have never even encountered this in the wild or in a shop. Now, do you remember the mystery food X? They've actually done a recipe for it. This has quite a lot of spices in it, but the interesting ingredient that also gives it that colour is beets or beetroot. Failure is important. It's how we learn from our mistakes. Absolutely right. It's important to fail even when you give it your all. That can motivate you to try again with more information or a new tactic. This special curry, inspired by a camping trip dinner gone wrong, captures the spirit of adventure, mystery and learning. With its unique colour and its flavour will have your friends coming back for more. Again, reading the recipe, It really sounds delicious. And croquettes play a part in Persona 4. Here we have the Suzai Daigaku Super Croquette. And you remember doing the gardening with Nanako at the Dojima household? Well, the fruits of that garden go into this dish. The eggplant and tomato gratin. Trout meunière. Yes, I remember my attempts at fishing trout very well. I wasn't always successful. And of course Nanako has to feature. Here is her flan. This silky pudding with its deep, dark, rich caramel sauce is made with a vanilla bean, which gives each pudding a delicate, sweet, slightly floral aroma that nobody can resist, even big brothers. And it's really a traditional, what I call creme caramel. The difficulty is intermediate because while it looks easy and there aren't many ingredients, it's all in the technique. Dojima Fridge Mystery Banana and Barley Tea. Dojima. And that was Persona 4. Let's dive in. Persona 5. And yes, it is time for the famous LeBlanc Curry. Viewers, I have made this curry and it is amazing. After we'd eaten it, I asked Poodlepa what was his verdict, and he just looked at me and said, 10 out of 10. There you have it. The maestro has spoken. The difficulty is intermediate. Once again, with basic cooking skills, you should be able to complete this dish. It helps if you're organised and get all your spices set out ready and, your vegetables ready, chopped up. But beyond that, the description, the instructions for the recipe are so clear. If you follow them to the letter, you should have no problem. It does have some unusual ingredients for the finishing touches. Who would ever think of putting dark chocolate into their curry? But, it's all in the balance of the ingredients. Now, I just want to mention that I've actually studied Indian cooking and curries in particular quite a lot over the years. It's sort of the one cuisine that I have explored extensively over the years. I've got a huge library of cookery books, and this is a well-thumbed one. You can see all my notes stuck in there. 50 Great Curries of India. I've got a lot of cookbooks on Ayurvedic cooking. So I think I'm pretty experienced with Indian spices, cooking techniques and curries. And this dish really does not disappoint. It's plain sailing into curry heaven. I'd always wondered what that curry would be like that is sitting there at the back of the kitchen when you come into LeBlanc's cafe and he trundles out with his endless coffee. I actually don't drink coffee, so I'm completely immune to the charms there. But that curry, that pot, that always interested me. Now I know. There are instructions for making LeBlanc's filter coffee. And what does Morgana make? Macaron. There you are, if you love macaron. Ryuji's ramen bowl. Oh man, it does look delicious. This recipe uses shiotare, which creates a light, delicate flavour that refreshes and restores. What is shiotare? The instructions. While the stock boils, combine salt, mirin, sake, water and vinegar in a small saucepan. Discard the kombu, transfer to sealable container and chill until ready to use. This can be made up to 2 weeks in advance. Wow, this is useful stuff to have in the fridge. The difficulty is tagged as easy, so It looks complex, but, once you've made the tioshari, it's just straightforward steps with chicken and vegetables. I might try that next, yeah. If that doesn't make you drool, I don't know what will. Oh, I'm getting really hungry now. Poodle-pa, where's my lunch? Now, Anne favours strawberry cake. Of course she does. The difficulty is intermediate. And yes, it looks like a traditional gâteau to me. Very much like the kind of thing you will find in any decent German bakery or konditorei. Amazing stuff. Now, Yusuke has an interesting type of porridge called ojiya. And like so many Japanese dishes, it has egg on top. They must have an enormous consumption of eggs in Japan. This porridge is the culmination of everyone's hard work and a reminder of the beautiful meal you shared. It uses dashi, again, cooked rice, soy sauce, carrot, shiitake mushroom, scallion, 2 large eggs, and some mitsuba leaves for sprinkling on top. So it's really a savoury porridge. Makoto has a very simple and elegant fish dish. She uses mackerel fillets, and you use sake again in the cooking. It is served with freshly grated daikon, miso soup, and of course steamed white rice. Futaba is a modern kid. She uses instant noodles. Instant noodle style yakisoba. They use thinly sliced pork belly in this dish, with some roughly chopped cabbage, scallions, refrigerated yakisoba noodles, and some yakisoba sauce. And you basically just have to cook the pork belly and the vegetables, of course, but then it's easy to put together. Cook time, it says 15 minutes. Haru favours a blue cheese salad, and the blue cheese is actually in the dressing. Mild blue cheese like gorgonzola dolce. Sounds very nice. Now, Akechi is into his cocktails, or rather mocktail. Now, Kasumi prepares bento, and she does it really nicely. So you have a chicken with rice, then tamagoyaki, which is your egg roll, and edamame beans. On Sunday evenings, you'll find lines of people hoping to nab these ground beef cutlets from Hagoromo Meat Shop in Kichijoji. Unlike tonkatsu, which is made from pork cutlets, this menchi katsu is made from ground meat, such as beef, pork, or a combination. Because these are made from a ground meat instead of a whole cutlet, they're a bit more fragile until they've been cooked. It's a good idea to chill the meat, which helps solidify the fats, to give the katsu structure, preventing the cutlets from falling apart when you bread them. Serve with lots of tonkatsu sauce. It's so tangy. Chunky katsu. The next dish is hard difficulty. Well, it's a very tall structure. It's the Big Bang Burger, Cosmic Tower Burger. If you want to try your hand at that, there's a bit of work involved. And you make the bun yourself, yes. Let me know if you attempt that. Good luck. Then we have a Chinese bun, or it looks like what I would call a dumpling, juicy nikuman. Difficulty is intermediate. I suppose a bit of experience maybe with a dumpling dough would be helpful. And the filling contains cabbage, shiitake mushrooms, scallions, ground pork, some flavouring, soy sauce, etc., and a bit of sake and potato starch to hold it all together. That doesn't sound difficult to make the filling. I would think it's more the technique of the dough for the bun. The next one is a cake. Oh, I love cake. I have never ever had this cake, and I'm so keen to experience it, and Poodle Pa's promised me he will bake it one day. It does not look difficult, and it's called Castella Cake. It looks a wee bit similar to a traditional pound cake, but the important thing is, apart from the eggs, there isn't any fat in this cake. So for anyone who has to watch their fat intake, this would be ideal. And I'm putting my hand right up there. Bread flour, so a strong flour which has a higher protein level, meaning it gives a better texture. Difficulties tagged as intermediate. I would think that's really because I think a lot of people are not really used to baking anymore these days, and well, we've always baked, and the thing is about baking, you need to be absolutely precise. That really is the key and the secret to good baking. So if you have even a slight acquaintance with baking cake or biscuits, that sort of thing, I would say you would be able to attempt this. I will let you know how our cake turns out. The next one is nostalgic steak, and they use ground beef in this recipe. The nostalgic steak is an iconic dish of a bygone era, a little bit of classic dining that awaits you at the diner in Shibuya. Just what exactly is a nostalgic steak? It's Salisbury steak, just like Grandma used to make. I never had Salisbury steak, I don't know. The moment you dig in, you can feel her love and kindness in every bite. Although it's not technically a steak, this blend of ground beef, onions and other aromatic ingredients is juicy, mouth-watering and swimming in a sharp, umami-rich gravy that glistens in our retro-chic lighting. I like it. Come to Shibuya and taste a bit of history. Be sure to top each with a fried egg for added richness. Next we have a burger called Earthburger, and it's vegan. What are the ingredients? Roasted sweet potato. Oh, sounds great. Extra firm tofu, short grain brown rice, edamame, for flavouring soy sauce, tonkatsu sauce, red miso paste, sesame oil, salt and pepper. Panko obviously goes into the coating, some hamburger buns, plant-based cheese, butter lettuce. We call that butter crunch lettuce, and it's one of my favourites. Poodle Pa plants that out every spring. I'm waiting, and some tomato. This looks good, and you can use a food processor to process all the ingredients. A great convenience. Now next is a baking dish that I really, really want to try. I have come across it so often in anime and games, and of course it plays a big part in Persona as well. The Melon Pan. The Melon Pan sold at Yon Germain Bakery is on fire. It's so delicious the flavour will bring you back to life, or at least from the brink of death. Well, that would be useful. Unfortunately, these delicious buns with their crisp cookie top layer made to look like the skin of a melon are available at the bakery only in the summertime. Of course, you do have the option to buy them from the home shopping program in the fall and winter, but you do so at an enormous markup. Instead of going broke for one of these tasty buns, why not try making a batch yourself? Indeed, I will. You make a bread dough with yeast. We're well used to doing that. Poodle Pa bakes bread almost every day here. And it has a cookie topping. It looks reasonably straightforward to me. It's tagged as intermediate, but there are, I suppose, 2 steps involved: making the bread dough and then the cookie topping. Now here's a really interesting beverage, the ultimate amazake. This fall seasonal beverage is made with a sparse list of ingredients. There's only short grain white rice, 4 cups water, 1.5 cups koji rice, and a pinch of kosher salt. That is all. That's all the ingredients. But the result is a complex and sweet flavour that is delicious when served hot on crisp autumn or winter days. The key ingredient in this version is koji rice, which is also important in making other fermented foods in Japanese cuisine, from miso paste to sake. Yes, I have come across that, so I do understand. You might not think that a drink made with rice, water and salt would taste like much. As the amazake ferments, it transforms into a sweet drink with hints of banana and cream that's a joy to sip on a cold day. With its porridge-like consistency and deep nuanced flavour, it'll warm and comfort your heart. I used to see koji rice, but that was a long time ago. And ever since the whole cost of living crisis, and I have noticed that shops have downgraded their stocks and a lot of things are just not there anymore. The more niche products, they just disappear. So I haven't seen koji rice around here. I would have to probably order it in specially, but this sounds like a nice project. Now here's an easy dish with Japanese sweet potatoes. The legendary Yakiimo. Many street vendors, such as the one in Yongan-jaya, roast these winter-only sweet potatoes in the embers of a coal or wood fire. They're perfectly tender with their caramelized natural sugars taking your palate on a delightful journey. You can roast these in a home oven and whip up literally a little batch of honey butter to slather over your sweet potato. You also can always try your luck and snoop around Sojiro's fridge for one. I would be careful about that. It says 4 Japanese sweet potatoes. I don't know whether Japan has a specific type or variety of sweet potato. It looks very, very similar to our local New Zealand sweet potato called kumara. Very similar, the skin in particular too. Yeah, and we often cook kumara in the oven. Wrap the sweet potatoes in foil. That's exactly what we do with our kumara. And bake for 75 to 90 minutes or until you can pierce them. And then you just make the honey butter. This recipe is easy, provided you can get this type of sweet potato. You don't get quite the same result with the orange-skinned one. They tend to be large and have an orange skin, and we call them the Beauregard variety here. So it's got to be this variety to get this really deep, sweet flavour. Nutty, kind of nutty sweet. Conversion charts at the back, an index, dietary considerations chart. Published by Insight, obviously under license from Atlas. That's the back cover. I'm absolutely thrilled to have this book. The photography is really nice. You sometimes see cookbooks and the photography is so over the top. You know the old trick, what they do, they slather melted butter over everything and it makes it glisten and look appetizing. No, the recipes I have tried, the food looked like that. You don't have to artificially ponce up this kind of food. If you love your food and you look at one of these photos and you think, oh yeah, I'd really like one of those, then that's exactly what you're getting. Straightforward, healthy, nutritious, delicious food. And that was it for today. thank you very much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this culinary trip, something a bit different. As always, thank you very much for your time. Please keep well. I'm Food for Dogs. Bye-bye.